regular meeting of the School Board of Charlotte County is hereby called to order. Here in Charlotte County, we will achieve our vision of student success through our mission. We will provide an innovative educational environment that allows and inspires success for everyone. To lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag today, how about Mary Fred, since we're going to be talking about the Charlotte Local Education Foundation. Do you mind? If you could all join us to the pledge. Stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any additions or corrections to tonight's agenda?
We do. We have one addition and two deletions. Under additions, item F2D, personnel addendum number 1. Under deletions, item G5, removal of school board policy 8400, environmental health and safety issues. That will be brought back at a later date. And item I.1, removal of Edison State College dual enrollment articulation agreement. That will also be brought back at a later board meeting.
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the following additions and deletions from tonight's agenda. The addition of Personnel Addendum 1, the deletion of the Board Policy 8400, and the deletion of the contract with Edison State College dual enrollment. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. Reports, Mr. Superintendent.
We have one proclamation this evening and one student recognition. So I'm going to go back to you for the proclamation.
Okay, thank you. You may or may not know that Commissioner Tricia Duffy is heading up a group of interested parties who want to have some sort of a community memorial for the 10th anniversary of the tragedy that occurred on September 11th, 2001. And they have asked us, in addition to the Board of County Commissioners in the City of Punta Gorda, to consider approving the proclamation that you have on your agenda packet, which I'll read into the record and for the public. Proclamation, whereas 10 years ago, on September 11th, 2001, America was suddenly and brutally attacked by terrorists, and thousands of innocent Americans were killed and injured as a result of these attacks, including the passengers and crew of 4 aircraft, workers in the World Trade Center and in the Pentagon, rescue workers, and bystanders. And whereas these cowardly acts targeted symbols of American strength and success and were clearly intended to intimidate the nation and weaken our resolve. And whereas these horrific events affected all Americans, but with courage, America carried on with the regular activities of our lives, terrorism was not allowed to break the spirit of the American people, and in fact, the American spirit was never stronger than after that day. Whereas all students and staff of Charlotte County are urged to observe a moment of silence on the 10th anniversary of September 11th to honor those that were lost on that day. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Charlotte County Public Schools recognizes September 11th, 2011 to be Patriot Day in Charlotte County Public Schools, and all are encouraged to celebrate our patriotism by displaying their American flags at half-staff on Patriot Day in honor of those who lost their lives and their families. You may or may not know that Patriot Day was established in 2007 by a proclamation of then-President George W. Bush. And I would ask that we approve this proclamation as presented.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the proclamation as presented. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Mr. Superintendent, second report, student recognition.
I'm very pleased tonight to invite Kathy Hoff to the podium to introduce a very special young man.
Do we need to go down front?
Yes. Thank you.
Good evening, school board members, Madam Chair, Dr. Whitaker, Ms. Young. Thank you for being here, and thank you for having me here because I'm very excited about introducing a very special young man from Liberty Elementary who has been very successful and is being recognized this evening. His name is Simon Neese. He's here with his parents, and he's here for getting perfect FCAT scores on his reading and math. This is something that, should be really excelling, and I am very proud of him, as I know his parents are, and they are here with him too. Before I give him his recognition, I'd like to invite a couple of ladies from Liberty who have had a very important role in his education there. And one is his teacher from last year, which is Lauren Ellick, and also Debbie Neese, who is, I believe, his aunt, as well as the media specialist from Liberty. So if you girls would come forward and say a few words about Simon.
This is Simon. I have the privilege of being both Simon's librarian and aunt. I think Simon's successes can be attributed to, one, having a supportive family, as is evidenced by mom and dad and brother and cousin and aunts and uncles and great uncle and grandma and grandpa here tonight to support him. They make sure that he's prepared for learning every day by eating properly, getting enough sleep, having quality family time, even as simple as having dinner every night and just talking. He's also at a great school, Liberty Elementary School, where both academics and character are valued and taught. Character and 7 Habits training has helped him be a well-rounded citizen. He also has great teachers who have prepared him with the knowledge he needs. Special area classes have nurtured his creative side. Having access to the school library all day has given him the opportunity to become a great reader, and as Simon exemplifies, readers are leaders. And as important as a great school and a great family are, students will not learn if they choose not to, and Simon chooses to do his best in school, and the results are obvious. On behalf of our whole family, I'd like to say how proud we are of Simon for his academic achievements, but more importantly, for who he is as a person. Simon's really into the Harry Potter books right now, so I'll leave with a quote from Dumbledore that says, "It is our choices that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities." Keep up the good work, buddy.
Hi, I'm Lauren Ellick. I was Simon's teacher last year in 4th grade. My first impression of Simon last year was on the second day of school. His homework was to write an acrostic poem using the letters of his name. And I said, tell me a little bit about yourself so I can get to know you a little bit better. And apparently he struggled with the O a little bit, and he couldn't think of anything to write, and he kind of struggled, and finally came up with something. So he came in the next day, and he turned in his paper, and he covered it up like this, and he said, okay, before you read it, I just need you to know that I'm well aware that the O is not a complete sentence. He's like, but I had a really hard time with it, and I came up with something that showed kind of a little bit about me, and it, whatever. So I look at it, and it says, only one brother I have. And he goes, I really like Star Wars, and that's how Yoda talks. So I said, you know what? This kid is going to be so much fun this year that, he had to make me aware of the fact that he knew it was improper grammar, but he had to write it because it was creative and it showed a little bit about his personality. So I remember that being my first, wow, I'm really going to love this kid. And throughout the rest of the year, everything was the same. I mean, he always tried his best on everything, and even stuff that was challenging for him. Math problems, he would come up and say, Miss Ellick, this just doesn't make sense. And I'm like, well, yes, it does, buddy. Let's look at it. And he'd go sit down. No, Mrs. Ellick, there has to be something wrong. This is not, I can't do it. And I'm like, yes, you can. You go sit down. And sure enough, that kid would not stop until he figured out the answer to whatever the problem was. And where most kids would kind of, throw their hands up and say, oh, I'll just wait for her to explain it, he would never wait for me to explain it. He would figure it out on his own. We had a language arts assignment. One time they had to come up with all the things that were wrong in a paragraph, all, punctuation, grammar, and things. And I told them that there were 17 mistakes. And by golly, this kid sat there for half an hour, and he said, Mrs. Ellick, there's only 15. There are no more. I have found every single comma. I found everything. And I said, Simon, my teacher's edition says there are 17. And we all know that the teacher's edition is always right. So we went through, and sure enough, I was looking at him, and I was like, buddy, you are absolutely right. There are only 15. So the poor kid sat there for half an hour trying to find those 2 that were not there, but he didn't turn the paper in. I said, honey, just turn it in, and I'll grade it. And he's like, no, I have to find those other 2. And, they weren't there. So, and it just never ceased to amaze me, all of the background knowledge that he would bring to our class discussions and the books that we read. We read a book about the Holocaust, and just the questions that he would come up with and wanting to learn more and doing research on the side. He was just always, craving that learning, and he loves it. And then this story's going to embarrass me a little bit, but that's okay. We were playing catchphrase. I don't know if you guys know catchphrase. It's a little electronic game, and you have to give clues to figure out what a word is. And so we're in the food category, which of course is like, really easy, simple clues. And Simon gets it, and he goes, the capital's Brussels. And I was like, food? I'm like Brussels sprouts? And the timer went off, and he goes, no, Mrs. Ellick, the country, the capital of this country is Brussels. And I look around, and I'm like, I don't know what country the capital is Brussels. So he's like, Belgium, like Belgian waffles. That's the clue. It's Belgian waffles. And I was like, you put syrup on them, you eat them for breakfast, and this kid says the capital of the country is Brussels. So I was like, okay. It just always blows my mind how much knowledge he has and how fantastic he is. So I miss having him in class this year. It's always nice to look over and kids get your sarcasm, and they, enjoy, your jokes and things like that. So I miss having him in class, but I know that he's going to have an amazing, bright future ahead of him. So no matter whose class he's in, he's going to excel just because he's amazing. So, love you.
And for Simon, we bought a little plaque so he could remember this day, and it says, in recognition for achieving perfect scores in reading and math on the FCAT assessment for 2010-11. So Simon, congratulations. And Mom and Dad, if you'd come up, please. And I don't want to forget Mr. Gifford, who is here as the principal of the school. So Mr. Gifford, if you would stand as well, please.
As the board makes their way back up to the dais, I would just like to point out to all of you that are here that in my 8 years here, this is the first student that I know of that got a perfect score on both the reading and the math. So, great job, Simon.
I was just talking to Mrs. Neese, his aunt, and I was saying, that we're going to see more of him. He'll be the one coming through in the middle school math Olympics and the science fair and the spelling bee and the speech contests and Simon Neese. That's a name to put right in here. We're going to see that one again.
1,600 on the SAT.
Exactly. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any old business tonight?
No, we do not.
Okay, then I will at this point recess the regular board meeting and call the public hearing to order. We are having a public hearing on some board policies this evening. Mr. Superintendent.
We have a number of board policies, and as you know, the board policies, there's one policy that then gets applied to the different employee groups. So they have different numbers, so bear with me as I go through the different policy numbers and their title.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt you and be rude for just a moment? let
Yes.
them leave if they wanted to.
Invite our family to
You're
leave.
more than welcome to stay, but don't feel obligated. We understand.
I'm sure there are more
sorry.
exciting things to do this evening, so.
I was just writing a note to say that.
I'm sorry. I did not mean to interrupt.
No,
but
I was going to do
I saw the whole.
I was going to do the same thing. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't torture them.
Although, boy, could we teach him a thing or two, huh? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah. Board Policy 1122.02, 3122.02, and 4122.02, non-discrimination based on genetic information of the employee. Board Policy 1215, 3215, 4215, tobacco-free environment. Policy 1161, 3161, 4161, involuntary leaves of absence, and Board Policy 7250, commemoration of school facilities.
Are there any questions by board members? I know we had a workshop, what was it, a month ago, maybe?
Yes.
Okay, where we went through all of these page by page, word by word. But if anybody had any additional questions? Okay, then at this moment, Mrs. Smith, are there any citizens who wish to comment?
Yes, ma'am. We'd like Teresa Skinner to come forward and speak about the tobacco-free environment policy.
Thank you, Teresa Skinner. And team.
Yes.
Welcome,
Good
ladies.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. I very much appreciate the chance to get to speak with you all this evening. As you know, or most of you do know, I work for Drug Free Charlotte County. Have worked for them since the inception 10 years ago, and we would like to very much say how much we appreciate the partnership with the school system, the school board, and with the Charlotte County Tobacco-Free Partnership, and that we are very much in favor of your policy and being on the cutting edge. You have a policy already in place that many counties across the state of Florida do not even have yet. So the fact that you are willing to go the extra step and be really basically leaders in the state really means a lot to us. So at this time, I have two SWAT students with me, two students working against tobacco, and they're going to talk to you for just a few minutes.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Rebecca Wisnett, also known as Becca, and I go to Murdoch Middle School. I'm in 7th grade, and I'm involved with SWAT because not many people in my family smoke, but two of my very close family members smoked, and they had the courage to stop. Most of you already know that the children exposed to secondary hand smoke are at an increased rate of ear infections, coughing, asthma, and other respiratory illnesses. But did you know, on average, children are exposed to some secondary smoke that non-smoking adults do? On behalf of the Charlotte County Tobacco-Free Partnership and the Charlotte County students working against Tobacco Club, otherwise known as SWAT, we wanted to express our appreciation and support for the Charlotte County School Board's commitment to maintaining a tobacco-free environment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bryson. I go to Port Charlotte High School, and I am a junior this year. I have been with SWAT and Drug Free Charlotte County for almost 7 years now. I'm really passionate about what I do because I have seen the impact that tobacco has had on my loved ones. I have lost 4 family members to lung cancer, 3 from heart disease, and 2 are currently being hooked up to an oxygen tank because they can't breathe without it, and yet they still continue to smoke. 3 of my family members have quit after battling cancer and having me nag them all the time. As a SWAT member, I am well aware of the hazards of tobacco use and that there's no safe exposure to secondhand smoke. According to the 2010 Florida Youth Survey, 61% of middle school students and 63% of high school students are exposed to secondhand smoke in the past 7 days, much higher than the state average. We appreciate the school board's commitment to tobacco-free campuses and hope that they will implement the procedures and maintain and enforce the tobacco-free policies for all staff and visitors as well as students.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Smith, do we have anyone else? Melissa Peacock.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Peacock. I am with the Charlotte County Health Department as their tobacco prevention specialist, and I also work for the Tobacco-Free Partnership of Charlotte County. Thank you, school board members, for this opportunity to speak and also to support your commitment to a tobacco-free environment. Your comprehensive policy reinforces the tobacco-free norms that I know you would like to see exist. We know that 80% of all smokers begin before the age of 18. The majority of a student's day is here in the school, spent in the school, and that their attitudes towards tobacco are influenced by their peers and by their educators at school. The current school board policy is strong, and I know you are looking to expand that and strengthen it. Also hope that you will consider in the future some additional points that would really make Charlotte County a gold star district, and that would be provisions that prohibit tobacco advertising and the acceptance of gifts and sponsorships directly or indirectly from the tobacco industry. You have other policies that address these issues, but they aren't specific with regard to tobacco, and that may be something to look at in your procedures. Also, the inclusion of cessation interventions for your staff and perhaps even for the parents who may want to quit, and regulating the display of industry promotional items and clothing as you do with alcohol and drugs in terms of your dress policy for students. So I think what you're doing tonight is wonderful. We are really proud that Charlotte County is moving in this direction, as Teresa said, well ahead of many other school districts. And there are some other points that we might want to look at in the future as well. So thank you for this opportunity to comment.
Thank you. Mrs. Smith, anyone else? Are there any other citizens who wish to speak tonight on these board policy proposals? Okay. Before we close the public hearing, I want to say, it's rare that we get a lot of citizen involvement on our policy, so what a exciting night for us. Especially, I want to mention, though, Becca and Bryson, because for students to be involved in policy development process, that's very impressive leadership. So thank you, ladies, for coming out here tonight and speaking to us. Okay, now I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Move the public hearing closed.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. Is there any objection? Seeing none, then we will resume the regular meeting. And Mr. Superintendent, do we have a recommended action on these policies?
I do, and with the chair's approval, I will read all of these in as one motion.
Sure. Unless there's objection? No.
Therefore, this evening, I am recommending school board approval of Board Policy 1122.02, 3122.02, and 4122.02, non-discrimination based on genetic information of the employee, Board Policy 1215, 3215, and 4215, tobacco-free environment, Board Policy 1161, 3161, and 4161, involuntary leaves of absence, and finally, Board Policy 7250, commemoration of school facilities.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the board policies previously read into the record by the superintendent. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you for coming out tonight and letting us hear your views. New business, the consent agenda. Mr. Superintendent.
I am recommending board approval tonight of the consent agenda as presented to you.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented this evening. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Action agenda. The first item, and the reason we're all up in here wearing T-shirts, which is a highly unusual event for us, is the Charlotte Local Education Foundation operating budget and board of directors. Mr. Superintendent.
This evening, it's my pleasure to recommend acceptance of the 2011-2012 CLEF operating budget and 2011-2012 CLEF Board of Trustees.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that we accept the CLEF operating budget and board of directors. Did CLEF want to say anything? You don't have to. I see you all here, and I don't want to deny you the opportunity.
Yes, I wanted to thank everybody, superintendent, school board members, Ms. Young. Thank you for wearing your T-shirts and supporting us as we change our logo. And I do have several board members here. If you want to stand up and turn around so they can see your shirt. And we also appreciate your support at the Back to School event. This was the first year that CLEF funded and managed that event, and all school board members helped out. So we do appreciate everything that we receive in kind from the school district, especially.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming out tonight, board members. Any board discussion?
I just want to say one quick thing because I know we're going to leave and not hear any board member comment.
Okay.
I've been involved with CLEF for quite a while, and they've been through some tough years. There's been some struggles, and I just want to say that what we have right now, the leadership, both in the officers and with the job that Mary Fred has stepped up to do, it is a completely different organization than the one that I walked into 2.5 years ago. And it's a combination of the new members we've added that are very strong, and people like Annette and Tyler that won't name any names, but a lot of people ran away from CLEF when things started looking rough. And we had folks like them that stayed on board because they knew they could make it better. Now we have, we've always had Take Stock, and we've always had the Toy Soy and the Teacher Supply Depot taking on the Back to School Carnival. I mean, that's like saying, hey, let's start a new organization and start a Back to School Carnival. And it was seamless. Part of that is also having Donna Barrett, who I wish were here for the big thank you from the Cultural Center. But the Back to School Carnival went great, and I just want to say you guys are doing a great job, and thank you.
It looks like we have other speakers.
Yes, we'll take the opportunity.
Welcome to the podium.
Chris Beers with CLEF. I'm the vice president of the current board, and we are grateful for the school district and the support we get from the school district to do all the amazing programs that we do. And I'll let you know, with the Take Stock, the one on the back, we have 85 students that are either currently in Charlotte County School District or have graduated and go on to college in the Take Stock program, of which we provide the scholarships for them. And we'll continue that as long as we can. We got amazing fundraisers to help us buy those scholarships for the Take Stock and Children plan. In fact, Dr. Whitaker is endorsing the Take Stock for Children Fun Run on November 19th for his wellness program. And so we do thank the board for all their support for us, and we'll continue to do our best to make sure that the children and students of Charlotte County School District get the best out of these programs that we do. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Betty Gissendanner, and I am the treasurer, Madam Chairman. Mrs. Young, Superintendent Whitaker, and distinguished board members. I had a whole litany of things to say to you, and you have just made it so easy for me to follow up and say thank you. Since 2002, you have provided in-kind services to our board totaling $24,000 each year, and thank you. We also appreciate the fact that you are partnering with us in making sure that our students receive the best of public education and that our schools are among the top performers in the state. and it was evidenced here tonight. But there is an addendum to our budget that you approved of, but I do want to call your attention to, and it's how we spend the license plates money. That money is one way we assure from year to year that there is ongoing support to be able to pay for our support staff, as well as our teacher supply depot that we provide throughout the year. And this year, we funded the back to school great giveaway. Unfortunately, it's needed, and next year we hope it will be even better. We collect $20 from every new and renewed specialty license plate. So we ask you to help us get the word out that this is indeed a great program that invests right here in our schools and our students, and without you, would never come up to be. Thank you so much for what you do with us and for our students.
Great. Thank you. Any further board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And that motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much for the support you give us and for the ongoing partnership. Oh, yes. Next item on the agenda, the Value Adjustment Board appointments. Mr. Superintendent.
If I may, before we go to the Value Adjustment Board, just go back to the Clough announcement. We had some preliminary discussions about their fund run, which was on the third Saturday of November. And historically, we've had Doc's Dash on the second Saturday of November. Our conversation led to the possibility and now a decision to merge those two together. There's no sense in competing with runners and events, and so we're going to maintain conversation about how we do this, and allow Mr. Duckworth to do his master fitness thing before. We'll be up bright and early with fog settling on the ground, doing master fitness, and then that will lead into the fun run / Doc's Dash event, so that we can put all of our energy into one event and support it heavily. So looking forward to that partnership.
Great. Thank you. Now the Value Adjustment Board appointments.
Yes. It is my recommendation this evening that the board approve the appointment of a board member and alternate member to serve on the Charlotte County Value Adjustment Board per Florida Statute 194.015.
So moved.
Well, we have to decide who it's going to be. Now, the actual memo does say Barbara Rendell would be the regular, and we would need to be figuring out who the alternate is. So do you still stand by your recommendation, Ms. Rendell?
I do.
I think you'll
wasn't
find
sure you
support
wanted
for
me
that.
to make that announcement.
And then we would need, I don't know, somebody who's probably never done it before to step up and volunteer to be the alternate. What do you say, Mr. Vincent? Are you interested?
Sure.
Okay. So then.
There's a certain amount of pain that needs to be shared by everyone.
Well, I will tell you this. I was on the Value Adjustment Board this year, and we met more than I had ever done in the past, so heads up on that. The alternate may be necessary. So then can I get a motion and a second for Barbara Rendell to be our regular and Ian Vincent to be our alternate?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve Barbara Rendell as our regular member to the Value Adjustment Board and Ian Vincent to the alternate member of the Value Adjustment Board. Is there any discussion?
I will carry out my duty with pride.
I know you will. And they also give you the information now on CD instead of giving you a stack of paper to stick, so that's good.
They knew Ian was coming on.
Any further discussion?
Well, I think we have great faith in our two
Absolutely.
people.
I am confident with our decisions here. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is item C on the action agenda, the final drawings for the Punta Gorda Center Maintenance and Operations Facility. Mr. Superintendent.
It's my pleasure this evening to request your approval of the final drawings for the Punta Gorda Center Maintenance and Operations Facility, Surplus Store, and Clinic.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the final drawings for the Punta Gorda Center Maintenance and Operations Facility, Surplus Store, and Clinic. I know the plans have been in our office for several days. They're about this thick and that big, and so we've had quite a good amount of time to peruse them, and perhaps some people have asked Mr. Olivo any questions, but is there any board discussion? Okay. Just as a footnote, Mr. Superintendent, do you want to mention that this has connections to the final Hurricane Charlie recovery efforts?
It does have connections. We'll talk a little bit later in the agenda about the very, very, very final school, but this will be our last hurricane recovery project.
Right.
And so the end is in sight.
That's right.
I'd also like to mention, as it sort of slips into the whole, but very specifically, the clinic. Our current clinic has been highly successful. It's being very heavily utilized. We believe we're seeing some significant decreases in our cost of insurance. And so we're now asking HealthStat to do an analysis of usage to determine whether we move very quickly with the completion of the clinic in Punta Gorda and open that up as a south office, or if we just move forward and build that out with everything else and delay its opening just a little bit. That'll depend on the report we get back from HealthStat this fall on the current clinic usage.
Great. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item, final inspection for Hurricane Charlie recovery, Charlotte High School. Mr. Superintendent.
It's really my pleasure to bring to you a request for approval of the final inspection of Hurricane Charlie recovery, Charlotte County or Charlotte High School phases 1, 2, 3, and 4.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the final inspection for Hurricane Charlie recovery, Charlotte High School. Any board discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. And, well, see, that's why Ajax representatives are here today. Final pay request. Hurricane Charlie recovery, Charlotte High School Phase 3, three-story building, new constructing and existing facilities improvements. Mr. Superintendent.
I believe this is the agenda item that the Ajax folks are
Yeah.
here for. And because the board approved the final inspection, I am now requesting approval of the school board for the final payment request for Hurricane Charlie recovery, Charlotte High School Phase 3, the three-story building, new construction, and existing facilities improvements.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the final pay request for Phase 3 Charlotte High School. Any board discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Last item on the action agenda, personnel action, job descriptions, and there was an addendum. So, Mr. Superintendent.
I'm asking for the board's approval this evening of the personnel action, job descriptions, and the addendum is presented to you this evening.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the personnel action job descriptions as amended. Any board discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that motion carries unanimously. Next item is citizen comment. Mrs. Smith, do we have any citizens?
No, ma'am.
No. Any citizens last minute want to get up and speak? Okay, seeing none. Attorney comment.
For including me in the T-shirt campaign. Sometimes I get left out. And thank you for your hard work you do for our kids, and I'm proud to support my Support Education license plate.
Thank you. Board member comment, Mr. Swift.
My thanks also to the folks from Clef for all that they do. And I think way back when I first took this job, I got the very first education license plate in Charlotte County. And I've proudly kept one on our cars since then, and we'll always have one there. It's just a tremendous organization to support, and it's a good way to do it. I attended a National School Board Association President's Retreat at the end of last week, and part of the presentation, we had a live via internet
interview with Robert Ballard, the gentleman that discovered the Titanic, location of the Titanic, and he is in the Aegean Sea and has been in the Black Sea doing investigative work, and they are averaging a discovery of historical or geologic significance every 11 hours. They have discovered, as of Sunday, 11 major shipwrecks. One, they think, to quote him, is a home run. He thinks that it dates back to 400 BC, and it is virtually intact. And they're going to be pursuing permits to investigate it further, to bring up some artifacts to specifically date the ship. And it was, they operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because they're using the robots and it's all underwater and they have to have lights anyway, so it's underwater, it's the same. But the excitement that he still has for his profession and his commitment to the science of his profession and his commitment to the science, education science. And he said, if you can excite children about science, then they will learn what they need to learn to accomplish the task. He said, if you excite a student about football, he's going to do the things that he needs to do to become good. And if we can instill that excitement, then our students will develop a greater grasp of science in all of its aspects. And it was a very, very interesting and informative procedure, and to be able to do it live with him in the middle of the Aegean Sea and us in Groton, Connecticut, it was very interesting, and I want to see if we can arrange him to do something at a FSBA conference, because with the technology, it would be very easy to do, and that excitement would then be transmitted to even more people. So, and I will give you the website, because it's streaming live 24 hours a day. What they're doing, you're seeing exactly what they're seeing as they see it. So I'll get you the website, and you can pursue it at your leisure. That's all I have, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Vincent.
I won't gush over Clef anymore. I've gushed enough. But again, thank you guys for everything. And the license plate, I'm glad you brought that up. That I don't think a lot of people realize that $20 goes to Charlotte County. Mm-hmm. If you're a Charlotte County resident and you get that license plate, that's $20. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's tax deductible, correct? So there you go. It's really like $12 it costs you when you get down to it. I don't have anything as interesting as Mr. Swift's monologue about sunken ships, but I'm going to be a little reflective. Lee, 365 days ago was the night before the election, and I knew about 8 of the people that are sitting in this room right now 365 days ago. And I just want to, I've said it before, but I want to say it publicly. I'm not going to name names, but you know who I'm talking about, all the district people out there. Thank you guys so much, because I know I don't know everything, but what I've picked up in the past 365 days has come from all of you guys. So, I almost named a name. I'm not going to, Jerry. All you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mrs. Miller.
Okay. I can't follow either one of them, but in the local paper, Howard Koenig, who's manager of City Council, did have in one of his articles information about school safety, and it's about our children walking to school or riding bikes and this type, and I thought that was very good and appreciate that being in there. There was another article by Rusty Prey, it says, or Prey. Yeah, okay. Anyway, it says, congratulations to Charlotte High School for winning the first Battle for Blood. a student-run blood drive that challenged local high schools and college students to donate blood during the critical summer months. Blair Lovejoy, its donor developer coordinator, said the 5-day promotion raised 313 units of blood for local hospitals, ultimately saving up to 900 local lives. So Charlotte High School students and graduates donated the most units of blood, garnering the trophy and bragging rights. So a lot of the students also were volunteers helping to run the program. So I want to thank them and congratulate them for what they did. And that's it this evening.
Thank you. Mrs. Rendell.
I had something, but since I have just been voted on the Value Adjustment Board, I have been rendered speechless. And I can't speak. Go ahead.
Well, actually, it's funny you should mention that because I was going to tell Ian 365 days of experience. You know what that'll get you? The alternate spot on the Value Adjustment Board.
And my one-year pin.
And your one-year pin, which you should wear with pride. Indeed.
And you know what it gets into 365 more days.
It's hard to say. I'm afraid. Let's
Probably the permanent spot.
of Value Adjustment Board, right? I did want to say that, to my knowledge, and perhaps I haven't heard anything, but I've heard that the opening of schools went very smoothly. I know that, as they've already mentioned, we were all at the back to school giveaway. The name has changed, the location has changed, but the activity has remained the same, and that is to provide school supplies for students who need them. And so we appreciated those of us who were there. We were there at the mall. We were there at the fairgrounds. We were there. I can't even remember all the places it's been held, but yeah, we do remember the fairgrounds. Some places have been better organized than others, but it's just been a real smooth opening of school, to my knowledge. I recognize that there are still some chinks getting worked out through some parent pickup lines. Mr. Vincent, who had on his orange vest and was helping out at his school. So we appreciate that. Let's see. I wanted to mention that with regard to Charlotte Local Education Foundation, I actually had lunch with my mentee last week. So I know I jumped the gun and we're supposed to wait a little longer, but she was excited, and when are you coming to see me? So I didn't want to lose track with her, and that is actually my 5th mentee through Take Stock, because they keep graduating, going to college, so I'm excited about that. And other than that, Mr. Superintendent, do you have any comments?
A couple of things. I do want to thank our staff, especially our teachers and our school-based leaders, and our students for a very, very smooth opening to school, of school. It was really remarkable. And days 2 and 3, you would think they'd been in school for 2 months. So thank you all. A lot of work goes into getting this whole machine up and going, but you do a great job. And the buses were, for the most part, on time. Food service was serving up great hot broccoli at lunchtime.
All right.
And we didn't lose any children. And people chuckle when I say that, but you have no idea how important that is.
Every day we wake up thinking.
That one parent, and who we aren't sure where that 5-year-old is, it is truly a nightmare. So we move heaven and earth to make sure those little guys and gals get on the right bus and off at the right stop and safely with their parents. So thank you to all of you that made that a smooth start. To Clef, again, thank you for all you do to help support us and our kids. It's a great partnership. The back-to-school extravaganza went off terrific. Not that I would know. I wasn't there. I was marrying off a nephew in Chicago, and they couldn't have had the wedding unless Uncle Doug was there. But I did miss it this year. I apologize, but had a family obligation. I'd like to recognize Kathleen Moore, who's a middle school social studies teacher, and Andrea Tarlowski, who is a Charlotte High social studies teacher, for being selected Social Studies Outstanding Teachers of the Year from Charlotte County. They will go in competition at the state level now with social studies teachers from the 66 other districts But special thank you to them. Great job. My final piece is ACT results are back. They're up again, which is good. We're pleased with our continued improvement. I do want to make a comment for the general public. I noticed that there was an article in the paper the other day that Florida ranks near the bottom in the nation on ACT scores with 2 other states, Mississippi, I think, and Kentucky. I don't want to,
Right in our
but here's the interesting piece. If you know how Florida uses ACT scores, it's, I believe, unique to Florida. If there's another state that does this, somebody needs to tell me, because right now I think we are the only ones that use those ACT scores as a alternative or a concordant score for FCAT. Now here's what that lingo means. Most of the kids who take the ACT take it because they're college bound and they need a particular score in order to meet the entrance criteria. In the state of Florida, if you cannot pass the FCAT, reading or math, you can take the ACT and try to get a high enough score on ACT that the state waives the FCAT requirement. So think about this. The very best of our students take the ACT to get into college. The struggling students who can't pass the FCAT also take the ACT to try to get a score high enough to pass. I don't need to tell you what that does to the average ACT score when you have both your highest achievers and your struggling achievers taking that same test. And I believe we're the only state in the nation. So for someone in the general public to look at Florida's ACT scores and say, wow, gee, those are low, that would be logical unless you understand that we have thousands of kids. We have several hundred kids who take that test who are really struggling readers and struggling mathematicians. So just want to explain that. It's not an excuse. It is a reality. It's what we deal with. What we're interested in is what are the trend lines for our ACT scores. And our 3-year trend lines for ACT scores are up. So that's a good thing. So just wanted to share that. All right? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Then if there's no further business to come before the board, meeting adjourned.